Here are 4 tips for you landowners to ensure that you do not lose title or ownership of your property to squatters or adverse possessors, persons seeking to claim your land against you because they've been in occupation for 12 years or more undisturbed. The first thing to do is to ensure that if you don't physically occupy the land, and it happens a lot of Jamaicans live overseas and own land, own property in Jamaica. If that is the case, you're not physically here, not physically on your land, check the land often. Whenever you come to Jamaica, pass by the land, walk around on the land, make sure you don't see any signs of anybody attempting to squat or otherwise occupy your property without your permission. If you can't get to Jamaica, or if you can't get to the land, appoint an agent. Get somebody in the community to go by the land very often, check it, walk around, make sure that there's nobody hiding out there, nobody attempting to take possession of your land and take away your land from you. Second thing you can do to ensure that nobody is put in a position or is able to take your land away from you via claiming squatters' rights or adverse possession against you is to make sure that you routinely do acts of ownership. Fence the land, make sure the land is fenced and secure so nobody can go in without your knowledge or permission. Put up cameras if you need to. Plant the land. Plant crops on the land. If there's no house on the land, plant crops on the land. If there's a house on the land, put a tenant in there. Make sure that the land is just not left idle, unoccupied. It's like when you have a house, you don't want to give the impression that nobody's ever there, and then so thieves become interested in finding out what is inside the property because clearly there's nobody around. You want to make sure that there's some activity, you're doing acts of ownership, you're ensuring that you're busy about the land so people know that it's not available to be captured. Tip number 3 to ensure that you do not lose your property to squatters or adverse possessors: pay your property taxes. And ensure that when you pay your property taxes, you keep the receipts. But here's a further tip. Take a close look at that property tax receipt, because first of all, it must say the name of the owner. Make sure that your name has not been changed on the property tax roll as owner. Take note also on the property tax receipt, there is also a space for possessor or name of person in possession. Check the receipt to make sure that nobody has put themselves on the property tax roll as being in possession of your property, because either those two things can be used by somebody seeking to take or capture your property from you. And the third thing to take note of is to ensure whose name does it say the property taxes have been paid by. So fine, the receipt could have you as the owner, could have you in possession, but could have the fact that Carleen, someone has been paying your property taxes. Because remember now, that person only needs to prove that they have been paying property taxes for a minimum of 12 years in order to be able to say, look, I have a right to this property because I have been in possession or I have been paying the property taxes for a minimum of 12 years. So, pay your property taxes, keep your receipts, check your receipts. Because the other thing too, the saddest stories are, I was living in America, I bought a piece of land, and because I was working, I would just send the money to my sister or my brother and ask him to pay. Well, brother paid, sister paid, but they made sure that the thing said paid by the brother or the sister's name. And then they keep those receipts now, and when the time passes now, they present themselves as the relevant authority to say, hey, I am the rightful owner of this property. Here are the property tax receipts paid by me, minimum of 12 years. Check your property tax receipts.